All right, everyone. It's been quite a while since I've done one of our podcasts. We've had a lot going on in the world with some little virus called COVID that's been rocking both Canada and the US. But I'm really, really excited today to be back on the horse and to be talking to someone who's now international, and that's the one and only Jessie Niles. And Jessie, thank you so much for being so patient with me. We've been communicating with each other for quite a while now, and you've actually taken a little trip to Europe, which I'm going to have you highlight for us. But Jessie is talking to us today about some of the cool things she's experienced as one of the members of the Canadian National Volleyball Program. So Jessie Niles, welcome to the Headset Podcast. Thank you for talking to me today.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me on. It's great to have the opportunity to share some of my experiences, and yeah, it's great to be on.
So, poor Jessie did something really, really rookie today. Before we started a few seconds ago, she told me this is her first podcast. So, as a rookie, Jessie, as you may or may not know, first-time podcasters must sing a song on the Headset podcast. So feel free to, I'm totally joking.
There's a reason why I played sports.
So Jessie, a couple of things that we're going to talk about today. And I know my ADD is going to kick in because I'm so excited to talk with you about the different things that you've experienced in your career, but also the incredible things you've got going on right now post volleyball. But one of the big things that I really wanted to touch base with you on today is learning that you're a libero, which I refer to as the setter in the world of volleyball. I look at you as kind of like the position I played in hockey, being the goalie. And maybe it's my ego, maybe it's my fat head, but I can't help but feel that everything revolves around a key position on every team. The quarterback, the pitcher, whatever it may be. Libero, a lot goes on in that position. Maybe for just talk's sake, could you share with people the importance of your position and what it means to be a libero on a volleyball team?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I like to describe my position, I'm the captain of the backcourt. So take care of all the defense, making sure everybody is where they're supposed to be on defense, and then in serve receive as well. So just like the setter takes care of everything offense, I take care of everything defensive. So that's really specific kind of my job description, but also as a libero, you don't get on the score sheet. You don't hit the ball and score points. So it's from that point of view, it's a different position in that you have to hang your hat on different parts of the game. So I really always think of myself as everybody else's biggest cheerleader as well. And that's, when somebody else on my team is successful, I really feel that joy as well.
So it's amazing what you just said, because I've had a chance to work with dozens of volleyball players, and I've never heard it explained like you just said. And forgive me for making it be all about me and my little brain, but hearing what you said, like, it's not my job to score, and it's my job to be the cheerleader and to support the back end. You just described what it was like for me for 35 years being a hockey goalie. And I've never really heard anyone so eloquently express and describe your position. I guess, you also said something that made me think, like a quarterback, what it must be like for you in terms of getting everybody involved. And I wonder what the challenges are like when you're dealing with, I'm sure, some confident people in your outside hitters, inside hitters. That's got to be a bit of a challenge as well.
Absolutely. Kind of beyond the tactical system side of the game, there's always going to be that people aspect in managing people, whether it's in a sport context or outside. It's always a work in progress. And one thing that helped me throughout my career is treating it a little bit like an experiment, and just trying something. If it doesn't work, then try something different. But you definitely, I've learned a lot in that role as a libero, in figuring out how to really help my teammates succeed, and kind of managing different personalities and different ways that people work together.
So let me ask you this. We talk about in numerous sports, they use this term armchair quarterback. They use the term armchair quarterback to describe, the coulda, shoulda, wouldas. They use that term to talk about how things happened the night before, blah, blah, blah. But one of the things that I'm sure a lot of people will be able to see in their minds when I say this is it's really common in your sport after every point, good or bad, boom, that little huddle happens. I got to believe you're the person who's in charge of that huddle. Yay or nay?
I think that huddle is. I enjoy it as that person that likes to really bring people together. But it is a good chance to, like you said, a point, good or bad, a chance to come together and reset as a team, and keep going. So
There's so much to say about your sport that is so exciting. Like I gotta believe that when the Olympics roll around, next to the 100-meter dash, 200-meter dash, I gotta volleyball. I gotta believe that volleyball's in the top 5 elements to watch. Would I be off in that because of the excitement of the sport?
Yeah, obviously I'm biased, but it makes me super happy to hear you say that. But volleyball, especially at the highest level, is such a thrilling game to watch. I think the combination of athleticism, but also that technical and tactical side of the game, if you really understand the game, it even, the more you know about it, the better and better it gets. And you really appreciate what's going on the court. But so that part I really enjoy. And I also love to see how different the game can look around the world. So you've got teams from North America playing it one style versus, in Asia or Europe, it can look so different. And so that's really inspiring to see the different styles going head to head. And I obviously find it very exciting, but I think it is a pretty cool sport to see at the highest level.
So I have a million questions for you, and I'm going to sound like a complete spaz today. So to people who are listening and to you, I apologize. But I guess maybe what I should try to do in organizing myself is ask the basic question: how did you get involved in volleyball? Being a Canadian, I'm curious to know how did your career start?
Yeah, it started just in junior high. My friends were playing, so I, went along to tryouts. I don't have any other volleyball players in my family, so I really started because it was fun, and it continued to be fun, so I stuck with it.
So growing up in Canada, was this a school thing that you did, or did you join clubs and that kind of thing growing up?
Yeah, for the first couple of years, it was a school thing, but pretty quickly there was club options available. So I would play both school and then club. Yeah.
Well, here in California, as I'm sure you know, clubs are huge for volleyball. And I mean, just where I live in San Diego, I'm surrounded by some incredible programs that are just massive. Coast Volleyball, Epic Volleyball, San Diego Volleyball Club, like just massive programs that go all over the country and compete. And it's really cool to see all these little ones, boys and girls, in the sport. And I can't even imagine what it's like even in Europe, because I know that many years ago, having friends that played professional soccer, they would say to me that it would be soccer, basketball, and volleyball were like some of the big programs in Europe, coupled with hockey as well. you're now in Europe. Can you tell everybody where you're living right now and what the sport of volleyball is like in that community?
Yeah, so right now I'm living in a town called Mikulovce in eastern Slovakia. So I am about 30 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. And I'm here because my fiance, he's a professional hockey player. So this is where he's playing for the season, and I'm here as well. And like you said, volleyball is definitely popular in Europe. In Slovakia, I think ice hockey is still number one here, but it's pretty cool to see because a lot of countries in Europe, women's volleyball especially is really popular, and there's quite a big following around it. So it's especially coming from Canada where the focus is around hockey so much. It's nice to be in Europe where volleyball is popular.
So you get through high school, and next thing you know, you're going to an incredible university, University of Alberta, and you're a Golden Bear. Were you recruited to go play there? How did it work for you?
Yeah, so actually at U of A, University of Alberta, the women's programs are called the Pandas, so they're Golden Bears and Pandas. Yeah,
Sorry, sorry.
but I actually, really, I didn't know at the end of high school if I was going to be good enough to play. And so when I did a couple university visits, and when our head coach, Lori Eisler at U of A, offered me a spot, I jumped on it right away. So it was really, the process got started because I reached out to her and expressed interest because it was such a great program and a great school. And so the stars aligned and it was a great fit. And so as soon as the offer was made, I jumped right on it because it was just best case scenario for me.
Wow, that's awesome. And I've had someone in my life years ago who was a competitive player, and she played for York. And I thought I had a clue of what volleyball at the elite level looked like. And I remember going to watch thousands of matches, is what it seemed like, and just the all-around intensity of the game. I can't even imagine what it was like in a world-class setting for you. But I'd love to pick your brain a little bit on what it was like playing for Team Canada, the level of standard of play that you had to raise your game to, but also even to just talk about what it was like to be an athlete in that sport, and having to maintain not only top physical conditioning, but you guys travel a lot, and your travel is not easy. And maybe you could share a little bit about that with
Yeah.
at that level.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, playing for Team Canada was it was really such a joy and an honor. And what I loved so much about it was everyone was there because they absolutely loved it. And you know, it's as the years have gone on, I've realized it's very different for me when I'm playing volleyball for passion as opposed to as a job. And so I think that's really, I loved Team Canada so much because it was surrounded by people who were just truly passionate about it. So, but with that, it made, like you had mentioned, that the crazy travel schedule and everything that comes with being a national team or professional athlete, it made it worth it. But that being said, when you're in the moment and living in a hotel in Peru for a month, it doesn't, it's still challenging, but it's having that kind of that big picture helps to get through some of the grind as well.
So
So
I've heard that your travel can be pretty crazy, Jess. Like you guys will be in multiple countries within a short span of months. Like, is that accurate? Like,
yeah, absolutely. So we're really excited to have qualified for the first time for Canada for women's volleyball for it's called the Volley Nations League. So this features the top teams from all around the world, and that competition is especially travel heavy. So you're actually around the world twice in about 32 days. So you travel to a new country every week, you play 3 matches, and then you move to the next one on a different time zone. So we actually didn't play in it this past summer because of COVID, but for next summer, the national team will be in Russia, in Brazil, in China, in Canada, all over the place. So it's definitely, you earn your frequent flyer miles, that's for sure.
So for many people listening to this, they can't even comprehend what you just shared. It's almost like you're the professional version of the Amazing Race, and you have to perform. I guess I gotta jump into things now and ask you, tell us what that's like mentally and emotionally to have to perform at that level with that kind of physical stress.
Yeah, well, for me, the whole experience of learning to perform in those types of settings is, you really, to be successful, have to put yourself in the driver's seat and really take control of your own performance. I think it's pretty easy if you let kind of situations or things that happen around you dictate how you're going to play. You're not going to be successful in those settings. So you really learn to become really independent and take control of your own performance. And so focusing on those things that you can control and that will help you to play your best is something that, it's a learned process, because it's a new setting for a lot of people, and it takes some practice, but really coming out of it on this other side of my career, it's one thing that I've learned to do, is become a lot more independent and take a lot more control of my performance, especially on the mental side of things.
So as we kind of dip into the mental side of things, because that's what we focus on with headset sports and our podcast, I have to say to you, one of the things that is just so awesome about your sport is that emotional up and down and up and down. Like if you were from another planet and you didn't know anything about volleyball, you've never been to a volleyball match, one might easily think that this is almost movie-esque. To me, it almost resembles in some ways like being a little kid and watching WWF wrestling. My favorite guy is down on the mat and he's about to be out, and next thing you know, he's got life. Talk to us about what it's like to be involved in such an emotional environment whose tide can sway at any moment. Like, what's that like?
Yeah, definitely balancing the emotions of a match of the sport is challenging, but it's one thing I've learned, especially at this highest levels, is learn to separate some of that emotion from the game, because at the highest level, it's not as simple as playing good or bad, but it's a difference of decision making for just a couple points. And so really, I find when I think more, I guess, analytically or critically during those match situations, and as a player, try to separate some of the emotion out of it, it helps me to really stay in the moment. But that being said, as a human, you experience emotions, so it would be I'd be lying to say if I don't feel some of that pressure and anxiety. And so learning to not try not to feel it, but learning to accept it and recognize that it's part of the game, it's part of what makes you human, it's part of why you care. So that's kind of the balancing act that I've had, and I still continue to work on. But for me, what helps me in those situations is I think more on the kind of the technical, tactical side of the game, focusing on that.
See, and that's huge. What you just shared there, it's absolutely huge, because maybe next to, I don't know, basketball, maybe tennis, where points are so immediate. Like your points are just so immediate, and all of a sudden it can just start coming, and it's maybe in some ways almost like a boxing match too, where two combatants are slugging away, and then all of a sudden someone gets an advantage, and it's not punch for punch, it's now punch 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 punch. It for anyone who's never been, or anyone who has been to an event, the excitement in that building, the rush in that building for a fan that's enjoying what you do at a world-class level, you come out feeling like you played, just so you know. Right? Or at least I did and do. How do you bring that down to that technical tactical? Like how do you do that? And
Yeah, when I'm hearing you talk, I find when I watch volleyball too, I get more nervous than I do when I'm playing, and it's just being in that kind of spectator mode versus athlete mode. But really, I think it comes down to a lot of practice. Just like a skill is practicing how you're going to respond to different situations. Different how you're going to respond emotionally or mentally. It takes practice, just like you would practicing your skills. And so as much as you can put yourself into similar situations, whether it's in a practice setting or sitting down and visualizing it in your head, that really helps me to in those crazy intense settings with thousands of people watching, helps me to bring myself down to that level. And then the other thing I'll add is just adding in a lot of breath work and breathing. Just that has had so much power to me, is really paying attention and bringing my head kind of into my body and focusing on the physiological, I guess, response of some of those emotions, and focusing on breathing helps me with maybe some of those nerves or performance anxieties.
so that's a whole other path that at some point in time I'm totally gonna throw you under the bus to talk to us about, because I think, like, for today, what I'm envisioning in chatting with you is knowing who you are on a team and your role. I often refer to key positions such as yours as the chef in the kitchen. And being an Italian, I relate everything back to food, just so you know. And I talk about locker rooms as like a kitchen. I talk about get-togethers in a team and being with a team as the family, and the importance of little things in the family. But I gotta believe that you're the chef in that kitchen, and you're balancing personalities. You're balancing everything going on in those electrifying moments when things are going well and maybe when they're not going well. Am I accurate in saying that about you in that little circle?
Yeah, I think in a team setting, you really I try to be there to support other players, but that being said, I rely on my teammates for things that I need as well. And so I really think learning how you can support other people, but also how you need to be supported is important. But one thing that I feel like I have done is fostering those conversations that need to happen to get to figuring out what everybody needs. So that being said, learning to do that, but also really quickly and efficiently, because sometimes that needs to happen in the 10 seconds between points. So that's one key lesson. Like, we can figure it out and figure it out fast. So yeah, definitely. I think it's yeah, like I love to figure out that puzzle and work with my teammates to figure it out.
Well, what that also tells me too is you've got to be really, really connected to the moment, and almost connected to the moment in the sense that in knowing what your teammates need, as you so eloquently said it a few seconds ago. I believe that there's got to be a real high level of emotional intelligence inside the chef of the kitchen of the team, because in order to help your teammates perform effectively, you got to be selfless. You're focusing on maybe the needs of what is at that moment, for maybe what a teammate needs, what the group needs, and how we're going to respond to that. I don't know if anyone's ever said that to you before, but in my mind, immediately, I think you've got to be selfless to be able to help address what might be needed, like you said, in 10 seconds, which is not a whole heck of a lot of time with people yelling and screaming and a lot of clapping going on.
Yeah, I feel a little bit like it's totally not all about me. I mean, it's a team, that's a whole group of people that make the magic happen. But I do, especially in team settings, everything that I do and the way I act, I try and act in the best interests of the team. And so definitely there is a selfless aspect, which I hope makes my team play better. But I also it's a role that I enjoy, and it makes me play well as well. So
Let me ask you this: with the responsibilities that you hold, in being the person that every ball passes through, um, what is it like for you before a match? Do you have a routine? Did you have something put in place that helped you perform at your best? And maybe you could share a little bit about what that secret sauce was like for you in preparing to play at a world-class level.
yeah, absolutely. For me, there was always a saying that you play like you practice. So it all started in practice and showing up to each practice with the same intensity and intent that I would want to show up to a match with. And that takes some of the pressure off to feel like I need to pull something out of the hat during a match, that I just need to rely on the things that I've trained. So that's the first piece. And from there, building in the same match preparation into my normal day-to-day routine. So before a match, I'm focusing on the match plan. So what I need to do, and kind of tactically, technically, to depending on the opponent. So making sure I'm really understand what that is, and then building in some mindfulness and meditation. So I always do some breathing and visualization to really bring myself into the moment. And then so those are two key pieces. And then, man, I'm just having to rack my brain here because it's been it's been 8 months since I played a volleyball match. But
It's true. It's
yeah,
good.
and yeah, and then I think once I for each match, I have a training notebook, and I write down kind of things that are in my head and put them on paper, so it helps me to kind of process them. So a lot of times I'll write a lot of the same key messages in my game day notebook, kind of affirmations or how I want to play, and this just helps me to get in the moment and ready to play. So
And this is great, because what you're talking about right now are some of the elements that we have as some of the little mental workouts that we give all of our athletes to do at some point in time. So everything that you're describing is what we do with Headset Sports. But I want to put some things into context here for people who, again, might think that they know your sport, and knowing that sports science is so advanced now, with the data that they can give an athlete, a coach, a team. We hear that a lot of athletes will use the saying, the terminology, the verbiage that when I take the time to do what I need to do, that I can control the things that I can control. Like you mentioned, they may do breath work, they may do visualization, journaling, going over those self affirmations that help bring that calm. Athletes will then turn around, as well as coaches, and say, when I'm in that zone, I feel like things are going a little bit slow because I'm so prepared for what's about to happen. I'm assuming that you've had those moments as well. Would I be accurate in saying that? Okay.
absolutely, yeah.
But to really make it be like a wow thing for people listening to understand, can you share with people the speed in which a serve can come, a spike can come? Because I think when people hear about the speed and velocity of which that thing can come at you, I don't think they can really understand unless it comes from someone like you.
Yeah, I'm going to be talking in the metric system, so you'll have to
Yes.
convert
Yes.
convert in your head. But a lot of depending on the type of serve, you've got serves coming at you that are 50, 60, 70 kilometers an hour. And then when you're attacking, I don't even know off the top of my head, but it's going to be pretty fast. There's been many times I haven't gotten positioned correctly, and you get dinged in the side of the head, and I'll tell you, it hurts. So there's a lot of stuff that happens just in a split second. So having that, like you mentioned, that state where it feels like it's happening slowly is definitely a good thing.
Well, it would be interesting to see if you had any numbers that you knew of or could remember of like what a spike would be like. Because when people hear, it's funny when you say the kilometers per hour, right? You're testing my very limited math skills, but it's basically from my memory, like adding 30 to whatever number we provide in Canadian metric into miles per hour. So if you're saying, 60 kilometers an hour, that's equivalent to 90 miles an hour. And to me, that makes sense because that's the equivalent to a world-class baseball pitch. And when someone's coming down on that ball, oof, and the ladies you play with, they're not Smurfs, and they wow, can they pack it and they can bring it, and yeah, it's just incredible. So to be able to say, yeah, I can slow down a 90 mile an hour second, that's something, right? Like where does that come from?
Yeah, a lot of that work happens before the ball is actually hit. So making sure that, there's a lot of important eye work that happens in volleyball and reading the game. And so that's a big key in being in the right position. But it also, volleyball's, for me, the ultimate team sport. You're playing in a system, and making, everybody needs to do their job to be successful. So it in that actual moment, it's just about executing, and you've done all the work to get in that right position. But definitely it doesn't always happen, but you try and play the odds and you all work together. But it's it's fun though. Like it's things happen fast, but man, it's fun.
One of the things that I want us to talk a little bit about is the momentum factor. When I say to you, you can feel the mo in the air, you can feel the momentum sway, you can feel the tides changing. As an elite athlete in a sport which is all about momentum, what comes to your mind when I say momentum?
Well, when you have it, it's awesome. But
so true. Very good.
Yeah. It's I totally know exactly what you're talking about, because it's such a feeling, and sometimes it's beyond kind of rational. It's a part where it's beyond rationality, because it is such a feeling for a lot of players and a lot of teams. And so learning to, when you don't have the momentum, how to get it back is where I think a lot of that, making sure, identifying if it's a technical thing, a tactical thing, or if it's kind of emotion. Everyone's really tense and tight, and so learning to identify, where that momentum, how to get it back, what you need to change or alter, is one thing that I think comes with some experience. But as much as you can personally and as a team level out your game so that the momentum doesn't sway, too much, I guess, out in the wrong way for you, takes some practice.
It's funny, like looking at your face when I asked you that question about, tell us about momentum. I could read it, like even Stevie Wonder could see this, that your face was looking into the distance, and stories are flying in your mind, right? Of the thousands of matches you played, of like super awesome ones and other ones that are like, you turn the page, right? So uh, I'm wondering if you've got one awesome one that you might want to share, of just the change of momentum and riding that wave, what it was like, and maybe you can give us just a little highlight synopsis.
Yeah, you bet. So one that comes to mind is last summer, so July 2019, we were playing in the Volley Nations League qualifier, that tournament that I mentioned earlier. And this was our chance, first time for Canada to qualify for this big tournament. And here we were in the final match of the qualifier, and we had to win against the Czech Republic in order to qualify. And man, we were on a roll. Like, we were up 2-0, and we were the underdog. Everyone was like, whoa, look at Canada, like looking awesome. And so the momentum was 100% in our favor, and we were feeling real good. Third set comes around, and we're playing well still, but one of our best players, our top outside hitters, goes down with a torn ACL. And so it was, you talk about a loss of momentum. It was like, emotionally, it was just such a shot for the team. It was, we've lost one of our key players. So like, tactically, everything, we just kind of got totally just, everyone was just shocked. And so that's like, then flip side, momentum is definitely not in our direction, and we end up losing the next 2 sets. So it's 2 sets for each team. We're going into a 5th set. And you talk about those times when things are going slowly. It felt like that, but in just like this weird kind of alter world where we just made a decision collectively as a team, like, we are going to do this. And so we got that momentum back because we had this crazy burning desire to do this, and even more so now for our teammate Autumn, who had gone down. And so we came back and we won that final set and qualified. But it was just one of those times where it was a total roller coaster of emotions, total swinging of momentum in each direction. But it's had a lot of it's something I'll never forget, because it's just such a memory that's so deeply ingrained. And but it gives me hope that in those really tough situations that you can get that momentum back, and you can push through some of those tough situations.
It's got to seem like kind of cliche that it's like a Rocky Balboa movie where it's like, you're up, you're down. Oh my God, are you making it back? Oh my God, are we losing this? And in that environment too, with the crowd being so on top of you, I just can't imagine. The butterflies have to be the size of eagles in your stomach. And your mind's got to be playing tricks on you, because you've got to be feeling like, oh God, like we've seen this before, we've smelt this before. How do you wrangle that back in? Like, how did you guys say, okay, stop?
Yeah.
This is not ending this way. How did you guys do this?
Yeah, well, it definitely took some while to process those emotions of Autumn, our teammate, going down, and we were really feeling for her. So it took us, 2 full sets to process her injury. But we really, I think you've got such intense emotions that the only way for you to perform at that point is to focus on like what you need to be doing each point, like in that exact moment. And so as a collective group, the only thing we were focusing on is, okay, this point, like, what do we need to do? What rotation are we in? What are you going to do? Like, this is what I'm going to do. And just like break it down and just stay so focused in the moment. And I mean, after that match was over, it was like, I just broke down in tears. Everybody was just in tears, because it just took every ounce of energy to remain so focused and kind of put some of that emotion on the shelf. But really for us, we just had to like, okay, one foot, now the other foot in front, like just keep focused so in the moment. And that's how we did it.
So what I love about what you just shared is those little elements of, this is what I'm going to do, this is what you're going to do, and this is how we are going to do, that you just shared. Like that's brilliant. Like just so you know, that's like not only being in the kitchen with you, but that's like literally watching you put the spices in to your sauce, just so you know. And for those who are listening and will see this and listen to this, that is so huge what you just shared, because it's not even a matter of describing the scenario and sharing the story, and then everyone leaves thinking about what they just saw and what they just heard. You actually just shared the secret ingredients of how you actually made that happen. So rather than just saying, oh, we focused and we did this and we did that and blah, 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 and yay, it came together, you just shared the secret sauce, Jessie, and saying that, you know, we broke it down in 10 seconds. This is what I'm doing, and this is what you're going to do. And that's what helps what you explained so poetically, that one step in front of the next step, in front of the next step of how it's going to go, which is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So now, changing gears, one of the things that I really want to reach out and connect with you months and months ago when we first started our dialogue was this little organization you've created here called Volley IQ. Now just sharing with us something so intelligent. Tell us a little bit about this creation of yours, Volley IQ, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So Volley IQ is really, it was started along with my my former teammate Mariah Walsh, and so we came together and created Volley IQ as our legacy to the game, and really as a way for us to share some of the lessons that we've learned throughout our career with the next generation of athletes. And so we've built Volley IQ. Really, what drives everything we do is empowering athletes to become more independent, and so taking more control of their development. And a way that we help them do that is by using video as a tool to do this. And so we've created, we identified back at the start, when you go from a club or a younger setting into the next level, so whether that's college or university or professional, is that video is used a ton, and a ton more than it would be in club. And so we have developed a program to prepare athletes so they not only know how to use the video, but how to use it and translate information that you get from video onto your on-court training. So that is what Volley IQ is all about.
Wow. So how is it going with you guys right now? How's the program doing?
Yeah, so we have spent the last couple months doing some pilot tests and beta runs, really working closely with athletes and coaches to get some feedback and really refine our services. And so actually come the start of January, we're going to be officially launching it's called our Varsity Prep program. And it's in an 8-week program where we prepare athletes who are going to be making that jump to play at that next level, to not only know what to expect at the varsity level when it comes to video analysis, but give them tools to succeed in that environment, but also where they currently are. So we're super excited. It's going well. It's been a ton of learning, both on kind of a business side of things, but also seeing the game from a different set of eyes. Going from athlete to now working in a more coaching and mentorship role. It's been a lot of fun.
Wow. So this was not enough for you. You had to now go and start another company, another program called Ready in 5. I am feeling so lazy just being around you, just so you know at this moment. But please tell us about this new venture that you've started as well as IQ. Tell us about Ready in 5.
Yeah, well, if you can't tell, I'm really passionate about athletes in general. And so one thing that I, throughout my career as an athlete is I was doing other things other than just playing volleyball. So I was working or I was studying, and I really want to support athletes to be able to continue to play and have work that supports their current training and competition schedules. So with that being said, Ready in 5 brings high performance athletes into online meetings to lead 5 minutes of movement to prepare meeting participants to achieve whatever their meeting outcomes are. So it brings the world of cognitive science and movement um, into online meetings. I mean, I'm sure you can relate. We're stuck, especially right now, sitting at a desk from, morning till night, not moving. And that we know that our bodies actually and our brains perform better if we've been moving. Athletes know that best. So we bring athletes into meetings. They lead 5 minutes of movement and get everybody ready to go for that meeting. So it provides athletes with a great job and meeting participants with a much better meeting.
So where did this brainchild come from? This is fantastic.
Yeah, when I was stuck this summer at home during lockdowns with COVID, I was getting so sick of just sitting at a desk all day, and I found that I would come up with my best ideas when I was outside going on a run. I lived in the country, so I could go outside and here and there, but when I was moving or in a less traditional work setting is when I would do my best thinking, and I really wanted to share that with everybody. And I wanted to support people in this kind of new world of virtual work. Like, how can we support people to do their best work? And I think athletes are the greatest ambassadors of the power of movement, of the power of exercise, and how that can support great thinking. So that's really where it came from my own experience of just being, I'm so sick of sitting down. Like, how am I going to I need to be on my computer, but how am I going to perform and the things I do best? So I bring in movement, little short snippets, and get up from your desk at least once an hour, do 5 minutes of movement. And it's been a great formula for me. So I'm excited to share it with the rest of the world.
This is phenomenal. I love it. I love it. I love it. So quickly, tell us how we can pass on contact information for Volley IQ and Ready in 5. How can people sign on, log on, and become members of these two fantastic platforms you've created? How does this happen?
Absolutely. So for Volley IQ, if you're an athlete or a coach or a team that's interested, or anybody for that matter, we've got our website is volleyiq.ca. So you can find all of our information there, and you can always feel free to reach out to me directly there. And then for Ready in 5, we are actively seeking out athletes who are interested in working for Ready in 5, as well as organizations who are interested in supercharging their meetings. So you can head to our website for that is getreadyin5.com. And again, all the info is there. You can feel free to reach out to me at any time. I'm always fires me up to talk about all the different projects that I've got going on.
Jessie, I cannot thank you enough for making the time, and I'm sure it's quite late at night over there in Slovakia. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for being patient, for us getting together. Thank you for staying up to the crack of dawn, and thank you so much for everything you've had to share. And I just need to let you know that we are so taking you hostage again to talk about more of the things we talked about. Specifically, I would love to talk to you about the things that you mentioned regarding breath work. And I think that there's a huge interest from our people in that space. So thank you again. And I really hope that we'll connect with each other really soon.
Awesome. Well, it was such a pleasure to be on and great chatting with you. And I can't wait for the next time.
Awesome. Thank you again.